Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Voice by Matt show. My name is Matt Bertho, and I'm with Andrew Kroeze, who just escaped a hurricane in Mexico, and he's in Mexico City right now. And Andrew had me on his podcast, and so I'm excited to have him on my podcast today. So, welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I'm sorry if my internet goes a little wonky or if I have to whisper because there are other people out here, but we'll rock out an awesome podcast.
Yeah, man. So, how are you? I mean, you just kind of told me that you're escaping a hurricane.
I am doing really good. Yeah, we were in Playa. My parents texted me last night and they were like, "Hey, are you aware of this category 4, category 5 hurricane coming your way?" And I'm like, "No." So we looked at the path and it's coming straight through Playa del Carmen. So we bought the first flight to Mexico City here to get out of there. And then today I did a 45-minute breathwork session. So I'm
Nice.
feeling grounded, clear, good. So
What
things
was
are
the
going
breath
well.
work? What was the breath work session?
I create my own playlists on Spotify, and then I do a little bit of holotropic and Wim Hof combined together, with a little bit of yelling, just letting go.
Yeah,
And it
there you
always,
go.
yeah, I always feel super just clear and grounded after doing that.
So you were yelling in your hotel room?
Yes, we haven't had the cops called on us yet, but we're sure it's gonna come one day. So,
Oh man, that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Andrew, tell them a little bit about you, like your origin story, and kind of what makes Andrew Andrew.
Sure. Yeah. I usually start when I was 18. I went through a breakup that kind of broke my heart. Went off to college where I didn't have like many established friends, and kind of everything just kind of started to fall apart when I was 18. Um, Became super depressed. I remember waking up in the middle of the night thinking, like having a dream that my girlfriend and I were back together, and
Mhm.
then waking up and realizing, oh my God, we're not. And it was just like heartbreak for like
Ah,
6 to 12 months. And got heavy into drinking and drugs and the party scene in college. And that went on for 6 years, 2 years after college, too, doing
man.
that heavily in and out of therapy. Didn't feel like myself, like just totally lost. I remember thinking like everybody feels this way and like this is just life and everybody else is depressed. And it was interesting looking back. I was so lost in my own world where that's
Mhm.
that's not the case. And then I came across this poem called Invictus by William Ernest Henley.
Okay.
I was working in my apartment in Chicago and uh, randomly found this poem, and I read the final two lines: "I master my fate and captain my soul." For
Mm.
some reason that day, it just clicked. It was, if I take radical responsibility for my life, I can create anything I want out of it. Um, and right after that, I set a goal to lose 20 pounds and to quit drinking in 90 days, and ran across the street to the pizza shop to grab a calendar. And I put an X through the calendar every day I was sober.
Oh
And I
man.
downloaded my Fitness Pal and went onto
Oh
YouTube to
yeah,
look up
my
all the
fitness pal.
workouts. Oh, so good. It's just a math equation with losing weight, I figured out. Um, and then looked up Damian Patrick workout videos. I just followed his videos to a T, and they were so good. Shout out to Damian Patrick. And 45 days in, I broke down and cried in the shower. It was the first time
Mm.
I had cried in 6 years. Day
Man.
75, yeah, I looked down at the scale at the YMCA and I was 21 pounds lighter. And 15 days after that, I was 90 days sober. And yeah, if we just fast forward, I quit my job. I started my first business, which was an advertising agency. Went through the
Andrew,
ups and downs of,
what was
yeah,
your first job?
go ahead.
What was your first job?
Oh, my first job.
Well, the
Ah,
job that
man.
you quit. What was the job that you quit?
Okay. First job, I was a server at a retirement home serving mashed peas to old people,
Man.
which was great. I got connected to death at a young age. Um, it was super powerful. Just like the conversations I would have, residents
Yeah.
being there one day, not the next,
Oh man.
associating life with death is the most beautiful way to live more of life, you know? But my job then was fucking 100 cold calls per day to people that didn't want to talk to me. I would get like two pickups per day. It was for a software service, all that stuff. And yeah, it was pretty brutal, but I'm glad I went through it. It made me stronger. So,
Mm. And so
uh,
now you got into
yeah,
advertising.
yeah. So, 24, quit my job, moved back into my parents' basement, bought a couple courses online. I was $82,000 in student loan debt, had $600 to my name, but started investing into myself because I was going into all the Facebook groups and the YouTube channels trying to make money online. Then I finally bought a course from Ty Lopez, the SMMA course, and start my first agency. Didn't get a client for 6 months and was just living off my parents kind of during that
Yeah.
time. Then I bought another program with Dan Henry, got a better roadmap, all of that, got my first clients, and then it was kind of an upward path from there. Just like getting my first few clients over the course of 6 months, went from zero to bouncing between 10, 15K per month.
Nice.
Um, so that was my first company. Um, and it was basically just me and a virtual assistant. And we made it, got up to $210,000 in our first year, um, and then invested into another coach and learned the most powerful lesson of my life, which was if you have an audience, you'll never be poor. He helped me grow
Mm.
my Facebook group audience, and from there, owned a lot of attention. Built that group up to 23,000 members organically.
Wow, Andrew.
Yeah, and started to become famous in the Facebook group circles, which was interesting. And yeah, it was really cool. Built up a team of 20 people over 3 years. Had a really, really good team. Removed myself from it, and built it to multiple seven figures. Did one event where we had 200 people there and did $1.1 million in 24 hours at an event, which
Wow.
was a lot of fun. And then I ended up selling it in 2021. I just got a little too burnt out, and like I made the money that I wanted to make at that time. I had invested into real estate. I did a really good job of managing my profit margins and paying my team, paying myself out. And I was like, it's time to move on. And I thought I was going to get out of the coaching space. But after a year off, I was like, I'm really good at business coaching and personal development coaching. So I got back into it. Now we run multiple programs, have an awesome small team, 8 people, and still doing real estate and different investments and just loving it. So
Man, that's awesome. So, why did you eventually move to Mexico?
that's a great question. Um, oh man. I think the first time I came here was February of 2021. And my friend posted these pictures on Facebook of this beautiful house with cold plunge, sauna, hot tub, red light therapy, masseuse, and a chef. And she's like, "This
What?
is open for yeah, all included." She's like, "This is open for 3 months if you want to live with me." And I'm like, I'm in. So I came down. I actually lived with 4 women. I was like 2021. I'm just tapping into my feminine, like just letting go, surrendering. And I'm like, this is perfect. And
Oh,
the second month, I met a girl on Bumble, invited her over to a party, and we hit it off. And then shortly after that, we started dating.
okay.
Um, and yeah, she kind of kept me here in a really good way because I
That's
love the
awesome.
culture, the food, the people. Um, it's just great down here. So,
So, kind of walk us through because I know you have, you made it sound kind of easy and small, but this 18 person you have now, tell us about that mission and what you're doing with people and what you're doing with clients, to
Hmm.
give, the audience kind of an idea of the work that you do.
Yeah. So, my main mission in life is to mature the world in love and consciousness. I think it was 2022, I came across the video called The Egg Theory, and it's the life philosophy that I live by, which
Hmm.
is you or me, I am you. If I do something good to someone, I'm doing good to myself. If I victimize someone, I'm victimizing myself.
Hmm.
That basically we're living in a society that doesn't see reality as it is,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we just see reality as we are. So my main mission is for myself, to mature in love and consciousness, and to help others do the same by being the example first.
Hmm.
Um, so that comes through a lot of meditation, breath work, cold showers, exercise, contemplation, thinking time, connection with others, like coming back to the present moment and being in being instead of thinking and doing all the time. Um, so yeah, for the business, I want to help people master the four elements. So fire being business, water being relationships, earth being self, and spirituality being air.
I love that. That's
So
really good.
yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, it's
That's really
fun. And
good.
I want to help people stop playing small and become the best version of themselves so they can bring their fullest gifts to this world and help their soul speak, so to
Yeah.
say. Um, and I think we need to be working on all those things, but for my own path and my own journey, it's really external freedom comes first, like making money and having that external freedom to be able to do what we want, how we want, with who we want, all of that,
Yeah.
while developing the internal freedom as well. Being in the present moment and being able to be aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions and direct them towards the results that we desire for ourselves, other people in the world, right? Um, so how we do that, we have multiple programs, a lot of mentorship, bunch of systems. And the main thing is like $0 to $10,000 a month. It's actually much simpler than people think. It's just building one audience, one offer on a crappy Google document, and then getting good with sales skills.
Hmm.
So 0 to 10K, that's what we help people with. Just those three things and keep it really simple. Um, 0 to 30K per month. It's a virtual assistant, free up your time, get things off your plate. Um, Probably a setter to book in more calls, and then start thinking about hiring a client success manager to get the fulfillment off your plate. Because a lot of people go through the income roller coaster at that time because they don't systemize fulfillment. They get thrown into fulfillment and forget about top of funnel, generating new leads, new sales, all of that. So we help in that range as well. Um, 30K to 100K per month is basically all systems and team. How quickly can we develop systems and hire culture fits onto the team and keep a lean team of A players that can drive KPI, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and then 100K to 300K to a million a month, it's the same thing. It's just like how quickly can we hire culture fits, train them up to KPI, and develop processes for those systems.
Can you
So,
can
yeah.
you unpack the idea of culture fit? Because that's I've never heard anybody say that before.
Mm, yeah. Um, Man, so especially on like I'll give you an example, especially on the sales side of things, we can hire somebody that's great at sales, just crushing sales, but maybe they don't gel with the other team members,
Hmm.
and maybe they enroll people that aren't good for your product or your service, and
Mm.
maybe they just like to be a lone wolf and off by themselves.
Yep.
And some people might have that culture, which is perfectly fine, but it's not the culture that we desire to have. I like a nice, small, tight, cohesive team that communicates well and on sales does the best for the person on that sales call, right? So that's an example of somebody who's just like not a culture fit. Um, and we only can identify our culture fits when we have a vision for a company where we want to go and values for a company, core values.
Hmm.
So in my hiring process, the fourth stage for any hire is the values interview with me. So I go through our value as a company, and then I have them share a story of how they've embodied that value in their own life. So
Hmm.
the whole time during that hiring interview, I'm just saying, are they a culture fit? Are they a culture fit? Are they a culture fit? Are they going to um, think, feel, act in the way that our company thinks, feels, and acts,
I
right?
love
So
it.
we can be an organism and a cohesive unit, right?
So, what are some of the successes that you can share without sharing names, obviously, with some of the people that you've worked with?
Cool. Can I share names? I like sharing
You
names.
can, sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah. One of the big ones, Cole Gordon, started working with him in 2019. He did a really good job of building his audience for with the team that he was selling with. He was selling with traffic and funnels. And we were able to come together, help him create his offer, create his initial Facebook group audience. And within the first 3 months, he did a $274,000 launch.
Wow.
And that helped him start his company, which now is a $40 million sales agency called Closers.io.
Wow.
So that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Um, also work, yeah, also worked with Bastian Slot, who is doing agency services, um, and wanted to get into coaching. Helped him create a new offer. He had a little bit of an audience, really solid audience, and he was able to scale from new offer to 100K per month in 90 days just by
Wow.
keeping it simple. What I brought up, just like audience, offer, sales skills, that's all you really need to start, right? Um, Kavitha, who's one of my favorites, she's a relationship coach for physicians. Helped her create a super high ticket offer for physicians that are getting paid a lot, and she was able to scale from 20K per month to 160K a month in 4 months.
Wow.
A little bit smaller, but we just had Nora join our sisterhood. She does human design readings. She didn't know how to monetize it to her audience. She had a small audience. I had her sell $97 human design readings, sold a handful of them, and then we helped her create a 3K offer off of a Google document, which was all around using human design to reach your full potential.
Yep.
And she's just sold her first 3K offer, which was more than she was making in a month and also the most she's ever made online.
Man.
So it's
I
pretty
love that,
cool.
Andrew. That's
Yeah,
really cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I
Thank
have a
you, man.
friend that does human design. Yeah, she's amazing. Her name's Marsha. Um,
Yeah.
and
Do
she
you know? Do you know what you are?
projector.
Hey, I'm a projector too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I got a lot of open spaces in my root and up here also. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's been very interesting to learn about that.
yeah. It's
Um,
fascinating.
I
More
think
the energetic world than the material world,
oh
which
yeah.
is cool.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I didn't realize as a projector how much I need to have an alone time sometimes. Like
Mm-hmm.
and I need to wait for people to come to me, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really good at that. I like going after things, but how many times have we went after something and we push that thing away,
Other
right?
things away. If I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? Right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool things I remember we talked about, I don't even know if we talked about it on the podcast, your podcast, but we talked about Dispenza a little bit, about energy and
Hmm.
frequency.
Hmm.
So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that if you want, about your
Yeah,
experience
sure.
with it. And
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I was so tapped into the material world for most of my life. I think what helped me crack out of that was moving to Encinitas, California, which is one of the most spiritual places on the earth. And meeting all these people that were tapped into their energy and their spirituality and all that. First, I was like, "Oh, this is bull crap," and then and then I started meditating more breath work, more conversations around spirit, soul, all of that, around religion and all that stuff. And I ended up going to uh, Deer Park Monastery in Escondido, California, when I
oh,
was
wow.
super burnt out. Went for a week and just studied with monks and got way more tapped into myself and energy. And I tripled my business the following year. And I
What?
was like, oh, there's something to slowing down to speed up, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and the dots finally connected. I put a year's worth of work in super hard. And then I remember on day 4, I woke up in the middle of the night, went to the tea room, and just started mapping out what my business was going to look like the following year. And then I
Hmm.
would wake up in the morning and meditate for 45 minutes with these monks. And it was a really, really cool experience.
Hmm.
And then I burnt out again 2021 and went to Shivananda Ashram Ranch and ate crappy vegan food and did a karma yoga program and mowed the lawn for like a month. Uh, and it was great. I got connected back to my spirit, back to my soul. I felt life more. I felt more like myself. And it was the best year of my life after that because
Hmm.
I had just sold my business. I was 30K per month was coming in from the sale of the business. Like didn't have to worry about anything. Um, and I got really tapped into my soul and started getting like all these downloads from having no stress in my life. And I started to create my own frameworks around energy and around mindset. And now that's what I teach inside the brotherhood and the sisterhood, is how to break down the layers of our physical, emotional, and mental energy to be our spiritual energy
Hmm.
and be in this moment and connected. And also how to live our life by design instead of by default, really defining our vision, our beliefs, our values, our principles, and design our time in a way that we actually achieve our vision, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that's been pretty cool. Dispenza's with Dispenza and Dr. DeMartini. I love those two guys. Like
Yeah.
Dr. DeMartini is so mental. I went to what is it? His breakthrough experience, and
Really?
he just yeah, just the whole time I was so tired after it. But the whole time he's just like penetrating you with a mental knife of just
Yeah.
cutting through.
I listened
It's
to a
so good.
podcast the other day. I was like, dude, this guy, he just like destroys you.
Sharp. Yeah. Super sharp. He can be kind of really hard. So I like him on the mental side, and then on the energetic side and emotional side of things, Dispenza's the freaking best.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think I mean, I'm big into Hermeticism too. I recommend everybody read the book The Kabbalion. That simplifies Hermeticism a lot. It was written in the 1920s and breaks down the 7 universal principles. And the law of gender is the 6th principle in that book. And it's basically just saying that in terms of creation, creating something, it's the combination and the balance of the masculine and the feminine. Just like a baby is created, the masculine and feminine need to come together to create this new baby,
Yep.
right? And that's kind of how I look at life now. In terms of me to create, to be and create the most,
Hmm.
it's balancing my masculine and feminine. And also the Gospel of Thomas, ancient
Oh,
scripture.
whoa, whoa,
We're
bro.
going there.
Yes. I,
Yeah.
you're the only person that I think in my life that has brought that up. So you get
Yes.
giant brownie points bringing up the Gospel of Thomas.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, yeah. I came across it like 2 years ago. I think it was a YouTube video, and then I went deep down the rabbit's hole with it. And one of my favorite quotes from Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas is when the two become one, that's when we enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
And the way I read that is when our heart and our head become one, that's when we enter the kingdom of
Mm,
heaven. When our masculine, our head, and when our heart, the feminine, becomes one, that's when we enter the kingdom of heaven.
mm,
So the spectrum I look at life through now is, am I tapping into intention, the head, in this moment? Or does this moment call for surrender and tapping into the heart? And then the question becomes, how do we do that? So if we're all over the place, we can't focus, like we're struggling with getting things done, we want to surrender, to let go, to
mm,
tap into the feminine, into the current moment more. And best way to do that is putting ourselves in situations where we turn off this head. So really hard workout, cold showers,
yep.
breath work, right? And our head is just going to be like, no, don't do these things. Don't do these things.
Oh,
So many
dude.
people are so scared to jump into a cold shower, but they know it will actually be super beneficial for them.
Yep.
And that's just our mind controlling us. And when we can get out of the mind, get out of the head, and back into the heart, back into the body, and put space between the notes to make the music, space between our
Mm,
thoughts to create music out of life, then we're able to surrender, to let go, to tap into this moment and reach our full potential and be our full potential in this moment, right?
mm,
So that's kind of tapping into the heart, tapping into the feminine, and then tapping into the masculine. Our feminine rejuvenates our masculine, our mind. Everybody's had this experience where they finally started working out again, or they finally started doing breath work, or they found that person that just allows them to surrender, to feel comfortable, to let go. And then they're like, holy shit, my mind's on fire. I can do everything. It's because they're more tapped in to their feminine and to the surrender. And with the masculine, with the intention, the most powerful question that we can ask ourselves is, what is my intention in this moment?
mm,
That's how we start living our life, by design instead of by default, being
mm.
present and in this moment and asking, what is my intention?
Yeah,
Oh, my
that's so
intention
true.
is, yeah, my intention is to connect deeply with Matt, to bring as much value as possible to his listeners,
Mm,
to fully be in this moment and get the concept of the masculine and feminine across.
yeah.
But if I wasn't thinking about my intention, and I was thinking about that sales call coming up, or I was thinking about, oh crap, I gotta respond to that email, then I can't fully be my intention and
Mm,
can't fully be in this moment, and it will come across in that way. So the way I look at life now is like surrender, let go, be in this moment, and just ask, what is my intention, and fully embody that in this
mm.
moment.
Oh,
Uh,
that's so good. It's so simple, and it's something. I mean, I'm gonna practice for sure. And it's a great reminder too. When you work out, you need to work out. You shouldn't be jacking around on your phone or one of my pet
mhm.
peeves at working out is people that want to talk to me. I'm just like, I'm here to work out and kick ass. Like that's why I'm here.
Yes.
But the same thing goes with meditation and doing Wim Hof. When I'm doing Wim Hof and meditation, that's what I want to do. I don't want to answer my phone. I don't want anybody to interrupt me. So I totally get that. And my best moments in anything that I'm doing are when I'm intentional about that being present and surrendering
Hmm.
to that moment. Um,
Hmm.
so good, Andrew.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like we could talk for a very long time. Um, I
Yes.
want I want to ask you a few questions. These are the questions I ask everybody, and I'm really curious to hear your answers to these because um, these questions changed my life forever. Um, so the first question is, what do you love? What do you love more than
Hmm,
anything in the whole world?
that's a great question. Um, my Rolex? No, I'm kidding. Uh, no, I had the answer. It simply just comes down to connection. I felt so disconnected to myself and other people for 6 years of my life, 18 to 24 years old. So, what I value most and what I love most are the moments that I feel connected to myself and who I am, and feel connected to other people. So, one plus one in relationships equal 11 when we're fully connected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's what it all comes down to is what do I love? I I love myself and I love people.
Hmm.
Um, and I love one plus one equals 11 relationships. Um, and those moments, just those moments where you feel so deeply connected to yourself and everything around you.
Hmm.
I think that's what makes life worth living.
That's great. I love it. Nobody's ever said that
Mhm.
one. Next question. What makes you tick? What gives you joy and excitement?
Oh, tick in a good way.
Yeah.
Hmm. What makes me light up more
Yep.
than anything else? What sets my soul on fire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, I would say I'm keeping all these to one word, but impact. Like I did 200-person event in 2019, and I could literally see the impact in that room that I was creating when one of my team members was on stage or I was on stage, and those thoughts, the beliefs changing and churning. Um, in those moments with a lot of people and a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of impact happening, um, I would say those. I feel like there's something underneath it, though. I think there's something else there with what lights me up the most, what makes me just tick. I mean, I would also say a really hard workout or a really good breathwork session or going on a really good date with my girlfriend where we get to experience something new. Um, I would say those are all up there too.
Well, from a teacher perspective, just me seeing the outside and you talking about it, um, I think that you really, and this goes along with the connecting to people. The reason why you like to connect to people is you see the potential in us and what we can be, and so what makes me tick, what gives me excitement, is watching someone have that light bulb moment,
Hmm.
and they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this, I can be this, I didn't know I could
Hmm.
do that, and then I call them change tears come down their face, right?
Hmm.
Is that kind of similar to what you're talking about, maybe?
Yeah, those breakthrough moments,
Yep.
100%. Um, I would also say I love these questions, so thank you so much for them.
Yeah.
Um, I would also say when I'm proven wrong, um, which is a weird one,
No.
but it initially hurts, and I'm like, oh, I'm not wrong, all that stuff. And then every time I've been proven wrong and learned the lesson, I've gotten better.
Yep.
So, like, in terms of the initial feeling, no, that sucks.
Yep.
But if somebody's doing it in a loving way and I can see that I'm wrong in this moment and I get the lessons to improve, that's one big thing where I'm
That's
like,
good.
cool, I'm improving. And I'm looking for, okay, cool. I've got an outlet, so I've got time for a few more of these. if you have one more.
Yeah, I got two more. Next question is, what are your purposes?
So my purposes. One second.
I used to ask the question, what is your purpose? Your
Mm-hmm.
your definite major purpose based on the Napoleon Hill
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But then I realized, wow, we have more than just one purpose.
Oh my God, yeah, I could talk about that all day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Oh, so I would say in one word, comes down to the first thing that I answered, which my purpose is just connection. The more connection I can feel in each moment, and the more connected that I can feel with other people, and the more connection that I can help other people create,
Mm.
and the more connected I can help people create their systems and make sure those are all connected. I think it's
Hmm.
from a lack of connection for 6 years. Like Dr. Uh, Dr. DeMartini says, your voids become your values.
Hmm.
So my big void for 6 years was connection.
Wow.
So now at this point in my life, I really, really value connection and what that means to me, And um, I think that's my major purpose, just coming down to one word and my top value, right? Um, and also, one of my purposes is to study human behavior, social dynamics, and spiritual studies so I can research, systemize it, and teach it to other people. Those are my top lifestyle and vocation, or sorry, my top vocational values and work values. Vocational and educational values. My work values and what I love to consume, and that's kind of how I break down purpose inside the brotherhood. It's what lights us up and fills us up with most love and joy when we're consuming those things. So human behavior, social dynamics, spiritual studies, that's it for me.
Hmm.
And then what lights you up the most when you're working. So for me, I'm embodying one of my values right now. I get to teach, right? But it's also researching and systemizing. So that's what I built my business and my team around, where I can sit in the pocket of just researching, systemizing, and teaching all day. So with you coming onto the podcast, that's part of my research time, right? So I can live in my purpose and live in my values. So,
Love it. Last question. Why is Andrew on Earth?
mm, mm. The initial thing that came up was just to be a light,
Hmm.
to mature in love and consciousness and be a light for others. Um, I think to help others, I know to help others achieve external freedom and internal freedom.
Hmm.
Um, and oh, the last thing that I would mention here is just to get people into action.
Hmm.
One thing that I tell everybody is like, dumb is or done is better than perfect. We're gonna look stupid at first,
Yep.
and confusion is an integral part to learning. And noticing that life is always happening for us, not to us,
Yep.
and just taking that imperfect action, because Steve Jobs says we can only see the data points or line up the dots looking backwards, but we need to take that imperfect action to create those dots so that we can look backwards and create a system out of it for
Wow.
repeatable results.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
good. Man, Andrew,
Mm.
I feel like we could just do a workshop you and I together. Like that would be amazing.
That sounds
Um,
great.
how can people get a hold of you? And do you have anything coming up that they can like check out? Um, because man, it's been awesome having you on the show today, and I love your commitment to sharing this light and this truth with people. I had to find it kind of on my own by my own research and kind of just putting myself out there, listening to podcasts, and finally started to figure out the stuff that works. Um, but what are some ways that people can get a hold of you? And then, yeah, anything that you have coming up.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, man. This has been an amazing conversation. Um, Best thing to do would be to join our community, our free community of entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs are the people that are going to change this world. Um, and we have a school community called the Seven Figure Entrepreneur with a bunch of business free trainings for offer creation, lead gen, sales calls, operations, fulfillment. But not just that, also breath work in there, meditations in there. There's some Joe Dispenza meditations. And we do a Thursday workshop every single week at 11 a.m. EST. So I'd love to see you guys on one of those. The details are inside of that community. And I would say join that. I'll hit you up with an initial message. Let me know what your biggest takeaway from this podcast was. And then also, if you want to add me on Facebook, that's where I'm the most active. Just Andrew Kroeze, Kroeze. And then we can take it from there.
All right, man. Well, do you have any final thoughts or words for people before we get off?
Oh, can I share a framework?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, this framework changed my life. So I was in a lot of victim energy for a lot of my life. Um, and I wasn't willing to admit that to myself, but now I
Hmm.
can look back and I'm like, damn, I was in a lot of victim energy, that everything was happening to me and I wasn't seeing I wasn't tapping into gratitude and tapping into the beauty that this life has to offer. Um, and there are four stages to this belief shifting, consciousness elevating framework. Um, and the very bottom stage was where about 78% of the population is at, where I was at for most of my life,
Hmm.
being that life is happening to me.
Yeah.
And we're powerless, we're in victim mindset, all that. And I'll go through stages where I'm like, I'm not in to me energy. And when I say that, I'm usually in to me energy, right? Um, and then I came by a Tony Robbins video, and he was like, "Life is always happening for you." And I was like, "Okay, I'll tap into that more." And I saw glimpses of that, and it opened up my awareness and filled me with more gratitude in my life. And that's how we transcend from being powerless to having power again, having love again, having light again, right? And I thought that was the way for like 3 years. And then I went to Marrakesh, Morocco, went to the middle of the Sahara Desert, met this dude named
Wow.
Matthew Patty, who had been studying quantum physics for 25 years, something like that. And he hosted 5 different energy workshops while we were there. And he
Whoa.
was like, "Oh, those first 2 stages are cool, but you know there are 4 stages to this." I'm like, "There are 4 stages to elevating my consciousness, and I'm just on level 2. Okay, give them to me, Matt."
Let's go.
Um, and we went through 5 workshops around this, and we can expand upon this and implement this into our life. But um, the stage above life happens for me, right? Is life happens through me.
Mm.
So that is where we're not even asking anymore of like, why is this happening for me? It's just ingrained into our being, and we're an antenna receiving everything. And we are clear of the what the yogis would call samskaras, the energy pockets in our
Mm.
body, because the body keeps the score. And the
Mm.
whole thing with yoga is purifying ourselves. That's what it means, purifying ourselves to connect with our soul, right?
Mm.
So when we do that, and that's what the yogis are teaching, we're tapping more into life is happening through me,
Mm.
right? There's barely any like thinking going on. It's more of a flow state. And everybody is tapped into life is happening through me moments by being in that flow state, totally immersed in work or playing pickup basketball and you're just nailing
Yep.
every three, like perfectly in the moment, right? Life is happening through you then, right? But then the big one at the top, and you think about any like any monk that's been meditating for decades, they spend most of their life in the top stage. They have gamma waves going through their brain at the majority of time. They've had MRI studies of this, and
Yeah.
like gamma waves are really rare. It's where we're in that ultimate flow state, and what Joe Dispenza talks about with that super consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the final top one is life is happening as me.
Mm.
So we are one. Like we are just being, total
Dude,
being in this moment.
I've
And
had
it's,
moments
yeah.
of that before where I feel the energy and the wave of this world like going like with me and through me. Like
Hmm.
it's a really cool feeling.
The best. The best. Yeah. And with all these stages, it's not about one is better than the other. It's being able to identify where we're at in the current
Yeah.
moment.
That awareness, yeah.
And yeah, if we're in to me energy, then start asking, why is life happening for me? The longer time we spend in life is happening for me, the more likely we are to move up as through me. The more
Mm.
we're in through me, the more we're likely to be in as me, right? So it's not about falling off the horse. It's about how quickly can we get back on and realize
Mm.
that life is always happening for us and through us and as us.
That's great. That's a great end to this show today.
Awesome.
Man,
This has been awesome.
thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that, Andrew. And I'm sure that we'll talk again, hopefully in real life at some point.
Yeah.
But thank you for being on the show. And reach out to Andrew, join his Facebook group, and we will talk to you guys later.